Today is Monday, June 1st. And today, I want to talk about Stockholm Syndrome. I assume most of you have at least heard of that phrase. It was first coined after a bank robbery and six-day hostage situation in Stockholm, Sweden. And it refers to the idea that the victim of a kidnapping or a hostage situation can start to develop positive feelings towards their captor. Even as the captor is violent or cruel, the victim starts to care about their captor. Now, first, let me say that Stockholm Syndrome is way more common in pop culture than it is in reality. Genuine cases of Stockholm Syndrome are so rare that many psychiatrists are starting to question if it's a real thing or not. However, at least in theory, there are three clear symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome. First, the victim starts to develop positive feelings towards their captor. Second, the victim views anyone trying to separate them from their captor as an enemy. And third, the victim starts to believe that they and their captor share the same goals and values. Now, as I said, Stockholm Syndrome is extremely rare in real hostage situations. However, I think many Christians are going through a kind of Stockholm Syndrome with this world. They have been held prisoner by this world and they're starting to think the way the world does. First, they start to develop positive feelings towards this world. They start to imagine that this world is their home. They start to think that this is where they belong. As C.S. Lewis once put it, they think that they are finally finding their place in the world, when really it is the world that is finding its place in them. Second, these Christians start to view anyone who tries to separate them from their worldliness as an enemy. The idea that we should not live like everybody else becomes something that's too radical or extreme, an idea that just needs to be stamped out before it can spread. They think that the call to live in a counter-cultural way, to live for Christ against the ways of this world, is the enemy. And third, they start to imagine that as followers of Christ, they can have these same values and goals as this world. They think that if people would just look at it the right way, then they'd see that the values that Jesus calls us to and the values of this world really aren't that far apart. And if people could just understand them, they would see that Jesus fits in really well in our culture. They think that they can be committed followers of Jesus Christ and live in the ways of this world. They can't. Not really. It can't be done. It's a kind of Stockholm Syndrome where this world convinces them to think the way that it does. Well, here in the Mount Auburn area, our time of social distancing is coming close to an end. At the very least, our rules about social distancing are starting to loosen, and while this pandemic is far from over, people are starting to take steps back into the world. Many people are calling this a return to normal. But what will normal look like for you? Are we going to continue to live as prisoners of this world? Are we going to continue with this kind of Stockholm Syndrome where we think the way that the world does? Or will this time of social distancing mark a change in your life? What is your new normal going to look like? When you look back on this time, will it just be a blip on the radar? Or will this time of social distancing mark a change in how you lived and thought? And what is that change going to be? Now's the time to think about what your new normal should be. May God be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.